let's get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for Ecolab's webinar series. My name is Stas, Innovation Manager at Ecolab's Center of Innovation for Energy, and I'll be hosting this session. Let me start with the brief introduction of Ecolabs. Ecolabs is a Center of Innovation for Energy, which enables and accelerates innovation capabilities in Singapore to support the nation's future energy transition. This joint initiative with the Nanyang Technological University, Enterprise Singapore, and Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore aims to help local-based energy startups and SMEs by providing them with essential translation facilities and connections, such as research and development manpower, lab infrastructure, testbed sites, and business opportunities to help them successfully commercialize and scale the innovation efforts. We are organizing the Ecolabs webinar series to enhance the engagement and interaction with our partners, where we invite industry experts to offer their insights. Today's webinar is a part of a partnership between Ecolabs Singapore and Smart Energy Network from Norway. Smart Energy Network is a network of Nordic companies, entities, and bodies that meet regularly to discuss, challenge, and develop their businesses. The natural methodology of the network is to combine smart thinking with the newest insights and modern technology, and on top, create an atmosphere where likely to broaden the way of doing business for each single member. Smart Energy Network helps its members to discover business and technological innovations through regular meetings, discovery expeditions, and techno scouting. And Ecolabs is a Smart Energy Network main co-partner to the Asian markets. Our ambition is to bridge Nordic and Singaporean-based research and business. And today's webinar titled The Importance of Business Development and Glimpse of Smart Mobility in Scandinavia, presented by three great speakers coming directly from Norway. Let me introduce the first speaker of today. And the first speaker will be Ragnvald Naero, founder and CEO of Smart Energy Network. Before establishing Smart Energy Network, Ragnvald was Executive Vice President at Statkraft, the largest generator of renewables in Europe. He also holds an MBA from IMD Business School from Switzerland. The second speaker of today will be Øystein Olberg, Principal Scientist at Institute for Energy Technology in Norway. Øystein is also an Associate Professor in Department of Technology Systems at University of Oslo, and Director of the Norwegian Research Center on Zero-Emissions Energy Systems for Transport. He holds a PhD in Mechanical Engineering from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Wisconsin, USA. And right after Øystein's presentation, we'll have our third speaker, Lynn Therese Marken, Managing Director of Mobility for us, an organization which contributes to the development of environmentally friendly and public transport infrastructure with the self-driving buses. In her previous roles, Lynn worked for the oil and gas sector, including Statoil. She also holds a financial degree from the Norwegian Business School. Dear speakers, thank you for joining us today. And just before we proceed further, I just would like to mention and remind our participants that at the end of our session today, we'll have around 10 minutes for Q&A. So dear participants, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them in a dedicated Q&A session. And now, without further ado, I would like to pass the session to our first speaker, Ragnvald, founder and CEO of Smart Energy Network. Ragnvald, please go ahead. Let me
Thank you, Stanislav, and thank you to NTU Ecolabs for giving me the chance to speak about Smart Energy Network and our way of doing business development. First, I want to let you know that we are a Norwegian network organization, and our mission is to inspire change. And we work with partners and members to make this happen. Today, I will talk about business development by inspiration. And after me, as mentioned, two members of our network will give you a glimpse of smart mobility in Scandinavia. Business development is a wide range to cover. How you can contribute depends on where you are in your organization and what your area of responsibility is. The question to ask is, how can I help my colleagues and my organization to improve? It's all about improvement. How can we perform better, be more efficient, achieve faster goals, create more value, and so on? Depending on the size of the organization, the art of business development can be conducted in different ways. However, more often than not, all organizations tend to spend more time on analysis and processes within the organization than being able to take action in due time and do the right stuff with regards to improve the way of doing business. On the other hand, the gut feeling is seldom the best fundament for decisions about how to create better results. But decisions must be made with timing right. And this is where the focus of Smart Energy Network is. How can inspiration help us to improve our business, not too early and not too late? My learning is that if the vision of your company is unclear or not ambitious, it is very hard to build a strategic road to success. So the vision must be in place. And it helps a lot to bring to the table a certain portion of smartness. That means less traditional thinking. Make sure the controllers, of course you need the controllers, but make sure the controllers in your organization do not get too much power and too much influence. Smart thinking leads to creativity. So creativity also has to be in place to help find something new, a gifted way of doing things. And on top, there is one more necessary thing to remember. It is technology. In the history of mankind, technology today is more advanced than ever before, and the speed of developing new technological solutions is incredible. So this is why we today talk about disruptive technologies, artificial intelligence, and so on. I love the phrase, tomorrow today, as it helps us make the road till tomorrow shorter. What we do need to do today to create a winning business solution to be launched at the marketplace in the near future. So the combination of vision, creativity, and advanced technological solutions is the fast track till tomorrow. And in order to implement tomorrow's solutions, we spend time on inspiring members and partners. At Smart Energy Network, our business model is to arrange network meetings and to arrange discovery expeditions abroad to areas and countries and cities known for its entrepreneurship, and this is worldwide. Most of us like to be in control, and we prefer to invent the wheel, as we say, ourselves. And we like to do it again and again. This is a big mistake, but it is seldom the best way of scaling up our business also. So this is why we have to be open for creativity wherever it is happening. We believe that my smartness combined with your smartness create a quicker way of bringing new businesses to the market. So to inspire, we use leadership, innovative thinking, customer value creation, the avoid silos, and promote strongly and the multidisciplinary approach on the way going forward. And you can't do everything by yourself in your own country. And that is why we've established a network of partners and members internationally. So we call them co-partners, all the internationals partners. And we spend time with them abroad, and we bring them to our networks meetings. In many ways, we like to say that we have eyes and ears all over the world in the most innovative regions there are. One such region and one such place is Singapore, where NTU Ecolabs is a splendid co-partner. And our story about inspiration is actually quite short. To summarize, we like to say that we look for what is new. We always look for what is a smart and consumer-friendly way of doing things. Those three keywords is incredibly important. And then Also, to have the interdisciplinary approach across discipline and across national borders. Coming back to the theme of the day, of today, electrification. The Scandinavian countries are quite advanced, especially in Norway, and especially if we look at renewables. 98% of our electricity is generated from hydropower. And we have an ambitious plan in this country about electrifying it 100%. This means that also transport needs to be electrified. In 2025, all new cars sold must be emission-free. This is a decision already made by the government. And even today, 50% of all cars sold are electric. We are leading the world going electric with transportation. The ferryboats are turning to batteries and electric engines. Around 100 big ferryboats are electric today. And the Civil Aviation Authority has stated that all domestic airline traffic will be electric by 2040. Now, the job is to speed up electrification even more. And talking again about tomorrow today, smart cities will be the future of all cities for all of us. Even in rural Norway, small municipalities work hard to digitalize what can be digitalized. And Smart Energy Network's job is to inspire this change. I tried in this short speech to give you a general picture of how we work. Now we will look specifically at smart mobility as it is evolving in Scandinavia. And I will pass on to the next speaker, Øystein Ulleberg, principal scientist at the Institute for Energy Technology. So he will go deeper into details and concrete plans for the future. Thank you for listening to me. And as Stanislav said, I'll be happy to answer any question you have at the end of the session. So Stanislav, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ragnvald, for such a nice presentation of Smart Energy Network and for encouraging cooperation and collaboration. Now I would like to pass the floor to Øystein. Øystein, you can share your presentation and start your presentation.
Hello, everyone. Can you just confirm that you can see my presentation?
Yep, always good.
Very good. Thanks for the invite. So the topic is to give you guys a insight to what's going on in Scandinavia. And naturally, since we are from Norway, I decided to focus on Norway. I made a small outline for you here. I hope now that we can I had issues now with switching the slides. There we go. So, of course, Norway is an integral part of EU, although we're up there in the north. So I will say a little bit about the general market, and then I'll go into which is sort of my main field, which is the energy field, and how we think about how to couple the transport system to energy. Then I'm heading a research center called Moses. I'll give you just an example or two of what we're doing there before I move into some future stuff. So we've done some feasibility studies, and now we're proposing some future research projects that I thought might be of interest to you. So briefly then, since 1990, greenhouse gas emissions in the EU have been reduced overall, but the issue is more on transport. It's actually increased by 20%. And as you can see here, a lot of that is in the passenger cars and in the heavy-duty market buses and heavy-duty vehicles, indicated by these two segments here. If you go further into details here, this is a report that we participated in with the European scientific community. You see that the projections going forward it's also that there will be an increased transport demand. So this is counting the passenger kilometers, and the tremendous increase still then happening in the automotive part. And then also in freight, we see a significant increase. So these are the sort of global trends for the Norwegian and Scandinavian market. So we are following sort of similar trends in Norway, although we're trying to cap this. So this is the emissions from transport in Norway, about 30%. And as you can see, 20% from road transport, and then about 5% from the coastal transport. As Ragnvald mentioned, we have some quite ambitious goals, and that has to do with the fact that we are more or less 100% renewable already. So it makes sense for us to fast track the transition to more zero emission transport. So in our national transport plan that goes for the next 10 years up until 2029, the stated ambition then is that we, on the new car sales, on new vehicle sales, go to 100% on the light duty vehicles and the trucks. And by 2030, the same on the medium heavy trucks and 50% on the real heavy duty trucks like the long haul trucks. We also want our cities to have a CO2 neutral distribution. And as Ragnvald also mentioned, where possible, we will go and apply the zero emission technology for ferries. And we have a special system there in Norway. I won't speak so much about this today. I'll speak more about the road transport. This is just a snapshot taken from the Norwegian Electrical Vehicle Association, updated figures. There are close to 50 types of battery electric vehicles in Norway. Most of the ones available on the world market are bought due to different advantageous incentives by customers in Norway, and we have now 10 years of experience. But it's mainly light duty vehicles and mainly the second car for most people. But now a shift is happening and we are moving into a new era where more and more people are considering the battery electric vehicle as their car number one. And we're also moving into the heavier vehicles like the SUVs and the vans and the buses. So this is a slide of the development. And as you can see, we have about 10% now of our vehicles on the passenger cars are battery electric. And of course, in addition, there are hybrids. Now, this sounds all nice, but the challenge is now becoming more apparent because as we progress and more people use these vehicles, and as we're adding buses and vans and all kinds of things, we need to add charging points. So you see here, I just took some stats on charging stations, charging points, public charging points installed, and also took the ratio from number of vehicles per charging point. And in 2011, that was 2 on average, 2015, 12, and then in 2020, it's 18. And this is an increasing challenge, of course, because the more vehicles on the road, the more need for fast charging facilities. Of course, with improved battery technology, people will continue to use the slow charging, but obviously as you go into the heavier segments, it will be challenging just to base this on home charging. And one area where we see this as a huge challenge is in the cities where now, like city of Oslo, it's clearly stated that they want to reach zero emission by 2020. And there already we have implemented several hundred buses, and so more than 100 buses in Oslo area, the capital city of Norway, and 400-500 buses in contract. So very quickly now the Oslo region will go to full electrified and zero emission. But the challenge then is of course on the infrastructure buildup to make it as cost effective as possible. So this brings me to one of the main topics, which is sector coupling. How do we actually couple the energy system with these new transport entities? Because it's fine at 5%, 10%, but very quickly when you reach 50% and even more, you're starting to talk about significant amounts of energy that needs to be transferred, and also the capacity that you need to install. So it's not so much about maybe the kilowatt hours, but just as much about the kilowatts. So here you see an example of a couple of stations. One to the left is in Norway, the other one is probably somewhere in Europe. If you just do a very quick example, made a calculation, there are 250 million passenger cars in Europe. If all of those are converted to battery electric vehicles, that will require an installed capacity of about 0.9 terawatts. And to put that in context, we have about 1 terawatt today. That's the max power capacity in the European network, including everything. So this is a huge challenge, and obviously we need to go about it in a smart way. You cannot just set up these charging stations for everyone, everywhere. It will be too expensive and will take too much resources. So obviously we need to look at other carriers, and hydrogen is one of them. Here I have a sort of an example of a typical way to couple things. Of course, you can go directly like we do in Norway. Electricity is mostly more efficient if you go directly to the vehicle, preferably straight from the renewable energy source without too much transmission. You can also produce hydrogen from via electrolysis, or you could base it on existing fuels such as natural gas, but then that would require that you capture the CO2. So in Norway, we have two paths. And these early phases in transport sector, we're basing it on batteries, and we may go into hydrogen. And then going for the mass markets, if you want to go to hydrogen, you need to build industrial scale industrial scale plants, and you capture the CO2. And there are some plans on that also. But what you need to bear in mind, of course, is the round trip efficiency. And like I said, you want to go directly as much possible with straight from the renewable power source and then to the conversion into battery electric. And so we like to say, as a rule of thumb, as the lighter the vehicle, the more it favors, of course, the battery. And so if the frequency, if you have a frequent use of a battery, it's also good, because then you can utilize the resources going into making the battery. So a frequently used light duty vehicle, it's very advantageous to use batteries. If you have a larger vehicle, which is heavier and is less frequently used, at least less frequently charged, then hydrogen can be an option. But as you can see, the efficiency is quite low. So you need to be careful when you choose to go to hydrogen, because that will increase the burden on your electricity system if it comes from electrolysis. So this is exactly the topic of MOSES, where we are focusing on both battery and hydrogen electric technologies. We're going from the material side through key components up to system level, and on the applied side, which is maybe the topic of today, what are the innovation areas? We are looking at basically road and sea and rail applications. And what I wanted to focus on now is just to give you a view of and a glimpse of what we're doing in the heavy-duty truck markets. So we have a partner in MOSES. It's Norway's largest food distributor of fresh foods. It's called ASKO. They have now started, they have a holistic view. They're testing out all the fuels, biofuels, battery electric, hydrogen, etc. And now they have the first demonstration project up in Trondheim, which is about midway in Norway. They have a fleet of 4 trucks, and the project started up in 2020. So in essence, this project is a retrofit of 4 Scania trucks. And then Hydrogenics, now Cummins, has supplied the fuel cells. And then it's also been built a hydrogen station using Norwegian technology. Notice that these trucks have a HY registration, and at IFE we actually registered the first HY car in Norway many years ago, and that was a light-duty hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. So there's a system in place for this now. But of course, there are challenges. So we started to look into the economic challenges. And just as an example, then we did a case study between Oslo and Trondheim. So Trondheim was this city up there in the mid-Norway where Oslo is operating. So one can envision then maybe that you do a hydrogen station in Oslo and maybe somewhere midway. And so we checked out this route. There are two routes, one westerly and one easterly. And then in this area, there's also a lot of renewable power available. And then, of course, you could do a refueling in Trondheim. So we wanted to see, is it possible to go Oslo-Trondheim? And we looked into the market here. So then we checked out the amount of cargo going back and forth, and we projected some figures for 2030. And then we did a case study. What if we do this in 2030 with 100 vehicles? What then? What are the costs? Before that, of course, you need to look into the drive cycle. So we made some calculations on that. So that means that you have to sort of model the power draw, the energy demand, and we concluded that we needed about 729 kilowatts of hydrogen per trip. And then assumptions there were that we had 55% efficiency on the drivetrain on the fuel cell, and we needed 40 kilograms of hydrogen. What we also saw very quickly is that you need to have batteries on board to increase the overall efficiency. Since you are running the vehicles up and down, you can utilize the regenerative power. This is a busy slide. What I wanted to show here is it's basically a comparison. So we did total cost of ownership comparison between hydrogen truck and a bio fueled truck. And this is the break-even point here. So that's about 70, at cost of 70 Norwegian krones per kilogram of hydrogen, you can be break-even. And this is the 2030 scenario. I didn't want to show you the 2025 scenario because it was quite negative. So obviously we need to do some technology development. So we've taken learning curves, the expected learning curves on the hydrogen technology into this, and that is what you get. Now you see on these two slides here, these are basically the cost of producing hydrogen as a function of number of refuelings or number of cars coming to a refueling point. So that means that if you have about 5 cars coming and refueling per day, you are on the positive side in a way. So your profit margin increases, but after 10, 15 trucks per station, then you see it's quite flat. So basically this shows that it is possible to make cost-effective options even just with 10, 15 cars or trucks then serviced by one station. So that would be a station midway between Oslo and Trondheim. So now we are trying to detail this for the region of Oslo. So we just finished a pre-project with the county of Viken, which is then neighboring to Oslo. We looked into 1,000 trucks. We got data from about 6-7 operators, and this represents 5% of the fleet. So we had the energy demands, where they were driving, etc. And then we looked into a couple of scenarios. The plug and play, which is basically we take what we have now in terms of zero-emission truck specifications and match them with these demands. The next scenario is infrastructure boost, where we say that we just add the necessary infrastructure. Another scenario could be tweaking the route. That means that if you have battery electric, then you do different sizes of battery vehicles just to meet the transport demand. And then, of course, it's a sunny future scenario where we have infrastructure boost. We're investing in the infrastructure, and we have reached the learning curves that are expected for the technology and the vehicles that are proposed to the market. So this is then a technical feasibility study, not a economic feasibility study. So I just want to give you some snapshots. So if it's just plug and play with existing technology, there won't be much hydrogen battery trucks introduced. If we do the infrastructure boost, we could possibly get about 100 hydrogen trucks and about 50 battery trucks. And then you see then the shading here, the darker the color, the larger the chance is that you can have trucks operating in these regions. If we tweak the route, that favors batteries. That means that you could do a little bit of a mix and match. You just set up the necessary charging infrastructure and you can do a mix and match of large and small trucks. And then it won't favor so much the hydrogen. And then finally, sunny future, you can then actually try to, then you could phase out the carbon-based fuels and you can go to more or less fully electric with hydrogen and batteries evenly divided. So these are interesting scenarios. It remains to be seen if the technology comes on board. But now we are proposing a large new project together with the 4 main research institutions in Norway on this topic. It's IFE, SINTEF, Transport Economic Institute, and NTNU. And keyword here is that we want to do the similar study, but more thorough and a formal optimization using much more data for the whole nation. And we will optimize then the fleet and optimize the infrastructure. So this project proposal will be submitted actually now on Wednesday. It's something we worked on, and it's a spin out of Moses. So here keywords will be renewable power, battery charging, hydrogen refueling, smart technology to optimize the fleet, etc. So finally, to conclude, I think I spent my 20 minutes now. Norway has clear ambitions on the rollout of zero-emission vehicles over the next decade. We have a strong market growth for light-duty battery electric vehicles. So already we have 50% of new car sales are battery electric. But going forward, we also need to move into the heavier vehicles. That means vans and buses and possibly trucks. And since we are not alone in Europe, we have to rely a lot on the technology developments, especially on the vehicle side, on what's going on in Europe. But we see a lot of possibilities for the hydrogen on trucks and of course battery electric for the other applications. The key challenge which we're addressing now is to how to optimize the overall system. So that means optimizing the combined system consisting then of the infrastructure, charging infrastructure, and the rolling material on the roads. So I think that was it from my side. Thanks a lot for your attention. And if you are interested, you can of course contact me for further details, and you can also dig into some of those links to the different entities like Moses and the H2 Truck project if you want more details. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Øystein. That's been an excellent presentation and very nice glimpse into the mobility developments currently in Norway, not only the current state, but also the roadmap into the future and what other technologies are here on the horizon that we should look after. Thank you again for your kind presentation. And now I would like to pass the stage in the presentation to Lynn, Managing Director of Mobility for us. Lynn, please.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Ecolabs and Smart Energy Network for inviting me to this webinar. My name is Lynn Therese Marken, and I'm the Managing Director of Mobility for us. We are connecting people with autonomous solutions, and we were the company that was involved in the very first project in Norway to introducing autonomous vehicles and this technology into public road. We make transport smarter and more accessible by using sustainable autonomous transport solutions. And we believe to moving forward with this technology, we need to have real-life testing on public road in mixed traffic. And by doing this, we are contributing with data and experience transfer to main road authorities. And we are also contributing to establish Norway's largest test arena for future transports and logistics. By having real-world vehicle testing is essential to have better understanding on how automated driving function respond to our everyday driving situation. It's very important to have user experience and user involvement to have user acceptance. And by testing these vehicles and different kinds of solutions and software is very important to move this technology even further. One of our owners is Boral, and they are one of the main operators in Norway for bus, ferries, and trams. And as you can see here in the map, they are represented all over Norway. And we have 4 different projects going on in different kinds of environments with harsh weather conditions. And we are working for fit-for-purpose solutions to have autonomous vehicles as a part of the public transport together with bus, ferries, and trams. And by having these projects in different kinds of areas in Norway will give us the learning that we will need to find out which software and which kind of vehicles will be best on behalf of their needs. And we know that we need to cover up the first and last mile to make it more accessible to use the public transport. And by giving users different kinds of options, we make it better for them to use their public transport and to park their private cars even often. And we also need that different kinds of users have different kinds of needs, and that's why in our real life projects we are always working very close together with our PTA to have the full line of the public transport. So we will not work as a standalone project or as a standalone transport. This is something that we will work very closely to have the seamless transport solutions. And in our region, we are building European longest bus road. It's 50 kilometers and it's supposed to be ready in 2023. And we strongly believe that this bus line will be a perfect line to test full-scale autonomous vehicles and solutions, because this is a fit-for-purpose solution for full-size buses. And to have the small vehicles that we use today as a feeder system into this bus road. Part of the bus road is already finished, and that is on Forus. And Forus is the largest and most important industry area in Norway. We are now starting to build a mobility hub close to the main bus road that will contain charging, car sharing, bicycle sharing, different kinds of solar, and of course the autonomous solutions. We have now a minibus in this area, but we are also planning to bring in and include autonomous vehicles that will be able to be booked for the people around in this area. We have 40,000 people in Forus Business Park, and in this particular area it is 5,000 that is in the office buildings. And this picture here shows the plan that we have for a certain part of this area. We have now, together with the Forest Business Park management and some of the oil and gas industry and companies working with the green solutions and digital infrastructure, we are now moving forward with the municipality to have regulated this area as a certain part of a test arena for autonomous solutions and different kinds of transport solutions to make our increasement in use of public transport. We have also drones and logistics transport solutions that we wanted to test. And the other owner that owns Mobility Forest is Sea Brokers, and they own 210,000 square meters with office buildings and private lands in this area. And this, together with public roads and very close to the airport and the harbor, will make this area very good for testing different kinds of solutions. And we want to look into how we can cooperate with like Ecolabs and companies like yourself to move forward different kinds of vehicles that have been tested in Europe. And we also need to look into how we can put in smart infrastructure and smart technology to have the vehicles to operate even better. So we are working with system integration, software, and also look into how we can develop 5G as a part of our test arena. And I have been in contact with different kinds of companies and also academia and university that wants to cooperate with us and to join into this big project with Norway's national test arena for new solutions. So I was hoping today that people that are joining this webinar will contact me to learn more about the development of this test arena, to join in, and that we can have collaboration across borders. This is an overview of our partners today, and hopefully we will have this list even longer, and we will join in with our projects for the real testing, different kinds of area in Norway, but also for the test arena in our region. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that I will have questions and that I will be contacted after this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn, for a wonderful presentation and showing your work, how you're deploying these autonomous vehicles and buses on the roads in Norway. And even myself personally, I'm excited about your new testbed, such a comprehensive testbed coming up, which will be a great opportunity, I'm pretty sure, to partner with also Singaporean startups and partners. So now we are proceeding to the last part of our session, more specifically Q&A. So everyone welcome to type in the questions either in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, or just raise your hands and then we'll unmute you and let you the chance to ask a question from our speakers. And maybe while our participants asking a question, I would like to use the right as a host to ask the first question, maybe from Ragnvald and Øystein. Can you please share with us what kind of maybe partners you're looking for, or if companies from Singapore would like, to reach out to you or to partner with you. Are you looking for maybe startups, research institutions, or corporate partners? Let us know who would be your, perfect partner.
Should I start, Ragnvald?
Okay, please do.
Very briefly, just on the topics I presented today, as you can understand, we rely a lot on the imported products on the EVs, the light-duty EVs. There is some room for optimizing going forward, so on the ICT technology optimizing, but I think that market is very commercial market, and also a lot of the suppliers are from Asia, and they're integrating the whole operation of the charging and all that stuff in apps. So it's becoming a quite mature market. Going into buses and stuff like this, it's more dedicated infrastructure. I think we will be seeking suppliers on technology, more efficient power electronics, local battery energy storage systems, integrated technologies, so that you can optimize fleets, for our cities. And I think it fits well with what Lynn presented, because this might also include behavior of people, so that you supply your public transport service a little bit more on demand. And so it'll be a very complicated way to optimize the future transport system with battery electric. So I think this is a very interesting research topic. And I showed to you also hydrogen. And hydrogen, it's a little bit more of a, it has to be politically driven, that you want to go to the 100% climate neutral solution. And that if you do that and you commit to that, then that will also trigger hydrogen projects. So we're still waiting a little bit in Norway to see how strong the government will invest in hydrogen. But already we see a lot of interest in our energy companies on this topic. So I think there can be some collaborations where we also have technology providers on the hydrogen supply side. So those are the main areas maybe of collaboration.
Wonderful, thank you. And Ragnvald?
Okay, maybe I can follow up. I think in Smart Energy Network, you have to look upon us as a matchmaker. So we have our base in Norway, and there are companies in Norway with high competence in different fields. And now today we have talked about mobility. But also abroad, and like in Singapore, there are companies and people working with the same ideas. And my role is actually to be a matchmaker. So I'm the contact point if there are anybody out there, whether it be established companies or startups, it doesn't matter. And then I'll try to match with similar companies here in Norway. And the reason is that I believe, as I said, my smartness combined with your smartness can create something bigger. Instead of sitting in every single institution or country and try to invent the wheel ourselves. When it comes to the specific questions and things where it's possible to cooperate, then I have to actually talk with Øystein and interested to see if it is something that will fit. But it starts with reaching out. It starts with asking a question. It starts with you maybe having an idea. I think this could work. And also you have to remember when you talk about matchmaking, it goes both ways. We reach out to see if there are anybody out there that can come and work with us. But also from Norwegian companies being part of Smart Energy Network, we kind of open a bigger market for them, because even though I think technology-wise Norway and Norwegian technology is quite advanced, we are 5.5 million people. So the marketplace, the national marketplace is actually very little. But what we actually do here, like in mobility for us, if you can make it work, a large bus autonomous on public road, well, then there is a huge market for this outside Norway. So the bridge that we build together can be the start of something bigger.
Thank you, Ragnvald. And I think that there are a lot of similarities between Norway and Singapore in a way that what you mentioned, that in Norway, maybe the population is not that high compared to other countries, but at the same time, you have very interesting developments, some deployments and business going on. So I'm pretty sure that, Norway is still very attractive region, and there are many partners, both from research side and from business side, who might be a very good counterpart for Singaporean businesses.
But the population of Norway and the population of Singapore is just about exactly the same. So the only difference is that we are the 5th largest country in Europe. So we are a rural country. But what you do in Singapore with smart city solutions is quite advanced in the world, and some of it we will need also in Norway. But at the same time, we do something very smart here that you could use in Singapore. So that's kind of the bridge that I try to build. And I know that there are Norwegian companies working in Singapore with this. But there are more that we can do.
Indeed. That's the purpose actually of our collaboration, also of this webinar, to show what opportunities are available over there, and how we can get in touch with each other. Thank you, Ragnvald. I have a question for Lynn. Lynn, there is a question regarding the mobility forest test bed. When do you plan to launch it, or is it already available for companies to come in and participate?
We already have an autonomous vehicle going between the office buildings and the bus road today. And we have now started to build the mobility hub. So now it is time also to look into what we are including in this mobility hub. So it has not been decided 100% which kind of technology or solutions or products we are going to have in this mobility hub. So that's why if people want to reach out and to introduce what kind of solutions they have, it is about time to look into the details around this. When it comes to the big area for the test bed, we have started to look into solutions to have the area regulated to be a test bed. That's why we are working now with the road authorities and the municipality at the airport and also the harbor. So it is a long-term project, and we have started also to look into the digital infrastructure. So that's why it's very good for us to be in contact with academia and companies that want to look into what we are doing at this stage, because as I said, it is a long-term, like 10 years project, and we just started.
Thank you, Lynn. And I have a question from the floor. Hogan is raising the hand. So I just remind all participants that you can either drop your question in the Q&A box or raise your hand. So Hogan, I'm unmuting you. You can ask your question.
Okay, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thanks to you all for the fantastic presentation and the introduction of the Scandinavian region ecosystem. Yeah, it was really interesting. It seems like the country government itself, they are really doing well, organizing their vision and their initiative in this mobility, and following their mobility initiative. And I see very well organized the research and development. So one thing is the this hydrogen vehicle development, green hydrogen from renewable energy source, hydrogen charging infrastructure. It all sounds very asset heavy, capital intensive. So one of my question is, can any of you can bring up successful startups, local startups, well positioned in the transforming mobility industry in Norway, so we can understand if you give us a good example, this could be a really good matching for the global startups for their benchmarking.
Thank you, Håkon. Øystein, would you like to take this question?
I'll try. You know, it was a little bit strike of luck that our battery electric vehicle market took off, because we put in place some incentives so that the first vehicles could roll, you know. To design the market is quite difficult on hydrogen because of this inefficiency. But, you know, there are different dimensions. It's not just the efficiency, it's also a matter about, you know, can you actually solve the problem with just batteries? And the answer is probably no. So that's why we're looking into hydrogen, but we have to pace ourselves when it comes to hydrogen. And that's why we are carefully designing fleets. So this is where we think the next innovations will come, the next technology developments will come. So we have now the interest of international companies that are ready and willing to design new trucks and heavier vehicles with hydrogen for specific markets. So this is one approach, but the main approach taken in Norway is actually to look into markets that we control a little bit more. That means that we are looking into maritime markets. There we can have control of the end use. And so obviously the successes, it remains to be seen then, but we have very successfully converted a lot of our ferries now to battery electric, and that was a very sort of strategic effort by the government, and now they want to expand this to see if it's possible with hydrogen. So and the same thing goes for the city of Oslo, been very innovative in terms of their tendering on the buses, and considering hydrogen also, but for now it's battery electric. So I think by putting down clear demands, first it was clear demands on renewable energy. That goal has been reached. So in 2020, in 2015, I think the goal was to go renewable, fully renewable by 2020. They have reached this goal. Now the next goal is to go zero emission by 2028. So it really helps. And then we see a lot of innovations happening. But in these new markets, it's really some big player has to go in and say they want it, and they design it, and they do tendering for this. Otherwise, it will not happen. It does, and that goes to hydrogen and it goes to battery electric. You really have to want this to happen, you know. So it's very much a political issue. And then of course costs come down as you go to scale, and that's, we see a dramatic improvement now, obviously, on the batteries. So I think they're expecting now to have the setup with the light-duty battery electric vehicles to be cost efficient in a couple of years, you know. And obviously, when we started 7-8 years ago, it was far from cost efficient.
Okay.
So I hope I answered that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that answers Håkon's question. Thank you, Øystein. And I think in the sake of time, I will take just the last question for today from our sandbox of questions. And this one, I think, will be addressed to Lynn. So the question is, changing from private cars with internal combustion engines into public transport with electric buses and cars is a big changer. What is the added value of making this bus autonomous above a bus driver on it?
It's a good question. We have different kinds of options when we are using autonomous vehicles. And if you look into the costs that we have when we have a driver inside the bus, we are talking about 55% of the cost having the bus driver as a part of the public transport. And if we are looking for saving the cost to increase the numbers of vehicles to be more accessible for users, then we will change the way we are putting in our investment. And to have people to park their cars even more often, then it's about how the transport solutions actually suit them. So if they will have options, different kinds of options, and you will have more fit for purpose and on-demand solutions, then we strongly believe that people will use their public transport even more. So, but also when it comes to safety on road, and to have the technology to help us with lower the accidents and help us to be better drivers. So there are different kinds of topics that we can place to introduce autonomous solutions. But we also believe that we will have the drivers in the vehicles for some years, and that they will have different kinds of responsibilities. So to also have the user acceptance and understanding, we need the drivers, but not maybe as driving the vehicles, but to be a part of the transport. So I think that they will just change their responsibilities, and also that comes to ferries and trams. So it's a part of the development in introducing new technology, I believe.
Thank you very much, Lynn, for your answer. And I think we come to the end of our webinar today. I would like to say thank you to all our speakers, Ragnvald, Øystein, and Lynn, for joining us today and sharing your insights. It's a wonderful opportunity to have you all here. And as well, I would like to say thank you for all our attendees of the webinar. And just a quick reminder that at the end of this session, we'll send a link with the quick questionnaire just to collect your feedback on our webinars to make them better and more relevant in the future. Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you the next time.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you, bye.